Hello everyone and welcome back to HTML and CSS lessons on Codecademy. So we've already done 2 videos or maybe even more on CSS now, and we are getting a bit more advanced. So today we're going to be continuing on with using CSS and then adding on more things. So let's get into it then. Hexa what now? I'm guessing it's going to be talking about hexadecimal. You will see what I mean. So you've got the main ideas, now it's time to dive into the nitty-gritty. You've noticed that when we've asked you to set color properties using CSS, we've been having you typing things like this, so color red. You may have asked yourself, what if I want maroon or fire engine red or more of a red orange? Does CSS know all of these words? Well, it doesn't. It can, however, understand millions of colors in the form of hexadecimal values. I think it's something like 16.4 million, I'm not too sure, so don't quote me on that. You're already extremely familiar with decimal values. It's everyday counting. You know when you see a number, for example 1432, that each digit can only be the 10 values 0 through 9. It can't be 10. Because there are only 10 possibilities, we say that the regular counting is base 10. So there are 10 digits, it can't be anything other than those 10 digits. But hexadecimal counting is base 16. Each digit can be a number 0 through 9 or the letters A through F. They're usually capital, I don't know why they're lowercase here. So that's what we're going to be learning here then. We've set the headers in the editor to different hexadecimal values, which you can see on the CSS tab. Click over to the result tab to see a wide range of colors. So as you can see, we have maroon, coral, goldenrod, sea green, royal blue and plum. If it doesn't explain it, I will explain how this works. So let's save and submit and see if it explains it. Okay, I think it will. So let's see then. There are lots of tools available on the internet for looking up hexadecimal or simply hex color values. You can literally do something like, what is the hexadecimal color value of, and whatever color you want. I think that, so if we do something like, let's actually show this. What is the hexadecimal color value of sea green? And if we put that in there, oops, as you can see, the first result literally gives you the number that you want, and that is what you can just copy and paste into your CSS. And if you put it in there, you would literally just get that color. So hex values always start with a pound sign, or as some people might now know it, hashtag, which is quite annoying, but oh well. You might also know it as sharp if you do music, and are up to 6 digits long and are case insensitive. That is, they don't care about capitalization. You can do this or this, and they're the same color. Make the H3 color then CC6666 blah blah, too many times to say it, and the H2 color that. I'm just going to call it that from now on. Color, there we go. And then I'm just going to copy and paste it and just change the attribute. There we go, save and submit, and we are done with that. Notice how it's just changing the color because we haven't changed anything other than the color in here. But the H3 and H2 are still there. So let's move on. Pixels and M's. Ooh, what is M? Okay, I don't think it's going to explain that, so let's actually explain this really quickly so that it makes sense. So you have 3 positions here. You have the first 2 digits are telling how much red you want. If you have a lot of red, then you would have F or 2 F's. If you didn't want any red, then you would have 2 zeros. What was it actually here? It was C, wasn't it? And then that's for red. Then you have green and you have blue. depending on how you mix them, you get different colors. And this is mixing light. It's not mixing colors like paint colors, I think. Yeah. And depending on how you mix them, you get different colors. So for example, if I do something like, oops. So this gives me rose red. If I make all of them 0, then I will have no light, which means all black. As you can see, now that text turned black because no color, no light means there is nothing, so it's going to be black. If you make it all Fs, because you're mixing all of the colors as much as you can, you're going to get white. As you can see, you can't see it like that, but if I select it, you can. And if you make them something in between, so all of them the same color, then it's going to be gray. And it depends on how you shade it. But then if you mix them, like, to get yellow, you can do red, I believe. Red and green is yellow. Yep, red and green gives you yellow. And you can mix them in many different ways to get different colors, is what I'm trying to say. So the first 2 positions are red, then second 2 are green, and the third 2 positions are blue. And depending on how you mix them, you can make different colors. I just wanted to explain that so that it actually makes sense once you start getting into it. So getting back to the lesson, pixels and ems. Great work, will do more with colors as you learn more CSS. So when we've asked you to adjust font size, we've specified that the unit you should use is px for pixels, like so. So a pixel is a dot on your computer screen. Specifying font sizes in pixels is greater when you want the user to see exactly on their screen what you designed on yours, though it assumes your screens are of a similar size. Which means that if somebody has a 4K resolution, they're probably going to see what you made 10 pixels much smaller than the 10 pixels on your screen. It depends on the screen size as well, but usually that's how it works. For example, now I have full HD, which is 1920 by 1080p and 17.3 inch, which means that my pixel density is about 127 inches per inch, and depending on how much your pixel density is, the text is going to be smaller. The bigger the pixel density, the smaller the text. So the smaller the pixel density, the bigger the text. So it depends on resolution and screen size. But if you wanted for the user using 4K to see relatively the same size as you, then you would use something like EM. So the font size unit EM is a relative measure. 1 EM is equal to the default font size on whatever screen the user is using. That makes it great for smartphone screens, since it doesn't try to tell the smartphone exactly how big to make a font. It just says, hey, 1 EM is the font size that you normally use, so 2 EM is twice as big, and 0.5 EM is half that size. So check it out, we've set 3 different paragraphs to the font size, 1 EM, 0.5 EM, and 2 EM. For now, use whichever unit, px or EM, you're more comfortable with. We just wanted to show you EM now, so you're not surprised when you see it later on. Fair enough? So, as you can see, to change the font size, you can do EM. You can also put px here, but if you do 1px, it's going to be tiny. So, don't do 1px. It's usually at least 14, I would say. But yeah. So, let's move on. That was just to introduce us to EM. A font of knowledge. We've also asked you to change the font family of certain elements using CSS. You've seen us use the fonts Verdana, Courier, and Garamond. But how many fonts does CSS know? The answer is, I guess it depends. So most computers will understand popular fonts like Verdana, Courier, Garamond. Not Garamond. And I'm guessing, Calibri and Arial are quite popular, I think, as well. But each individual computer has different fonts installed on it. So the good news is that CSS has some built-in defaults meant to ensure your users see what you intend they are. So if your computer doesn't have the font installed, then you're going to see some other font instead of just simply not showing up. So they are serif, a font with little decorative bits on the ends of the strokes that make up letters. Do a search on serif to see what we mean. Okay, I will explain what that is in a second. Sans serif, a plain looking font like this one. It doesn't have the little doohickeys on the ends of letters like a serif font does. And cursive, a scripty font. It looks like cursive writing. Okay, so once we do that, I will show what they actually mean. We'll show you how to import your own fonts in a later course. This will help make sure the person viewing your page has all the fonts you want them to have. Oh, actually that's quite good as well. So set the font family of the H1 header to serif. I'm guessing in here, because that's usually how we're doing it from now on. And let's close that. And here we do font size. Or no, font family. I did not need to delete the whole thing, but oh well. Set it to serif with a semicolon. Then we have H2. I can just copy that over actually. And just copy that over for H3 as well. But instead of serif, change it to sans serif. And instead of serif for that one, change it to cursive. So let's have it submit and see if it's correct. Yes, it is. So let's explain this then. So serif means, if you can notice on the W, on the I, you have the little things that are like sticking out a bit. So if you compare this I to this I has little things sticking out at the top and at the bottom. This I doesn't. So that's what people usually refer to when they say serif. And then cursive, I don't really know. I guess it's supposed to resemble handwriting. And that looks like Comic Sans, and I will not get into Comic Sans because you can watch a lot of YouTube videos about Comic Sans. That's all I'm going to say. Backup values. You don't have to jump straight to a default value like cursive or sans serif. You can tell CSS to try several, going from one to the next if the one you want isn't available. Okay. For example, if you write Tahoma as your preferred, Verdana is your second preferred, and sans serif is your third, then CSS will first try to apply Tahoma to your paragraphs. If the user's computer doesn't have that font, it will try Verdana, and if it doesn't have that, it will show a default sans serif font. So in the stylesheet.css tab in here, add times as an option before serif. Times. It was with a comma. Yep, comma, not comma, comma. Times, not time. There we go. Verdana is an option before sans serif. And Vivaldi as an option before cursive. Oh, did I spell that correctly? I have no idea. Let's try that again. It has no color. That's confusing. But okay, save and submit, and that is fine. I don't know why these shouldn't be with the capital letters, but oh well. So as you can see, now the font family here looks much better than it was before. And also those are different, and it depends on if the user has that font. And you can, it's like a backup plan. That is basically why you would want to do something like that. So review. Great work, you've learned a ton so far. Let's take a quick breather to review. We have covered what CSS is, why we separate form from function, CSS syntax including multiple selectors, multiple property value pairs and comments, and details of how colors, font sizes and font families work. So time for a little free play. Use HTML and CSS files to the right to practice what you've learned. Hit save and submit code when you are ready to move on. So I will allow you to do that but on your own. If you have any questions about even that, do feel free to ask, as I've said many times before. But yeah, that's today's lesson. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe and share it. Also helps me out and could help out your friends, because they might want to learn something about HTML as well. If you didn't like it though, do feel free to click the dislike button and tell me how I can improve for next time. But until that next time, thank you guys so much for watching.